Hi, in this video we're going to cover how to install an agent that you can use to ingest data from a data source that may be outside your network or is on an on-prem server. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our DataForge workspace here, and we're going to go to the documentation page. And then in the search bar here, we'll search for installing a new agent. And once we've opened this up, these are really all the instructions that we're going to cover in this video, and some helpful troubleshooting tips, prerequisites, requirements that you might need for the remote machine that you're installing the agent on. It's also helpful in that we have some queries and commands here that we're going to use during the installation of the agent in this video. So just to start, the first thing I'm going to do is actually grab the machine GUID from this machine. And I'm actually logged into the remote server that I've set up. So that might be something that's slightly different, as you might do this on your own machine, and then you'll use this to set up the DataForge agent first. And then once we have the MSI installer file and we have the config file, you'll then share all these resources with that remote machine. But just to start, we're going to grab this query here and we're going to open our command prompt. And we'll run this, and that'll give us that machine GUID. So we're going to copy this out. And then when we go back to DataForge, we're on the agents page here. So we're going to hit new, and we'll give this a new name. So just call it Alec Demo. It's for demo purposes. And then specifically for this agent code, this is going to be what the agent service is actually named on that remote machine. So what we're going to do is we're going to use, we're going to use Alec_demo for the agent code, and then we're going to paste in the machine GUID. And then the next thing that we're going to need, because we're in an AWS environment, when the agent is actually ingesting data, it's going to be writing files to your S3 data lake. So in this case, we're going to be using an IAM access key and secret key from AWS. If you're in an Azure or GCP environment, you're still going to have a similar requirement, but it's going to be a slightly different setup. So if I just grab those values real quick. So I've got my access key, and then grab my secret key here. And that's really all we need to do. So now we're ready to actually start downloading the files and start going through the agent installation. So we're going to save this, and whenever we save the change to a new agent or an existing agent, when the machine GUID has changed or the keys have changed, we're going to save and download a new config file. And this is going to be used. We're actually going to have to place this in a specific location on the remote machine. And then the next thing that we can do is download the MSI installer. So we'll download that. That might take a minute. While that finishes, the other thing is when you're on the agent instructions, right, we have a list of prerequisites here. One of the main ones being that you have Java 21 set up, or the appropriate version of Java at the time. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use this Amazon Credo link here. And we're just going to download this Amazon Credo 21 file. All right, so once that's downloaded, we're going to install Credo 21. So we'll hit next, next, install. And then we'll finish this. And then an easy way to check that we have met that Java requirement is to open the command prompt, and we're just going to type java-version. And so we can see that we have Java 21 running, so we're ready to start running that agent installation. So I'm going to flip back over to DataForge here for now, and then I'm going to open my downloads, and we can see that we have the agent MSI file here. I've actually got a couple. But we're going to run that, hit next, agree to the terms, and then this is that agent code that we said has to match. So in here we've got Alec_demo, and so this code has to match exactly, including casing. So we're going to put that same code in here on the installer. So alloc demo. We could potentially mess around with the memory usage or the port if we needed to, but we're going to leave those as standard for now. The last thing that we need to do here is figure out what we're going to authenticate the service as. Are we going to do it as a user on the machine, or are we going to do it as local system? If you're authenticating as a user, you'll hit enter user credentials, and then you'll see where you can then enter your username and password. Now, a nice easy way to find your username on the machine is, again, go back to your command prompt and use the command who am I, and then you can copy and paste that user into your username and finish up with the password. For this example, I'm going to switch it to local system, and we'll authenticate that way. So I'll just hit next and then typical, and then we'll install it. And so we can see the agent service is starting and the installation's finished. So the next thing that we're going to do is go to our services. And then if we scroll down, we'll look for DataForge. So we can see that that agent service is now installed. It's running. However, if we look at DataForge, that agent hasn't come to life yet. We can't connect to it. And that's because we haven't placed that config file yet. So what we're going to do is open our file explorer, and I'll open a second one here. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to C/program files, and then you'll see a directory in here for DataForge, and then we'll open the bin folder, and then we're going to place this agent config.bin file that we downloaded from the UI in this bin folder over here. And once that config file has been placed, then we're going to go back to our services, and then we will restart the service. All right, and so if everything's working, we should see that agent come back to life on the UI, which we now see here. So we can open up that agent, and we can actually see the logs from the machine that are starting to print. And so now our agent is set up and ready to use. So we can mess around with any of the settings as necessary. In addition, just to show you quickly how we could use this, so if we went to connections, whether we were setting up a new connection or modifying an existing connection, when we open the connection itself, there's going to be a setting that says uses agent. So what you can do is switch that to yes, and then you'll be able to select that agent that you have set up and have running. And that way, basically any ingestion that runs through this connection is going to be feeding through the agent. The agent will then feed a file into S3, and then we will work with that file from there. So you don't necessarily need direct connectivity to that external data source. Now, the last thing that I'll show you that can be helpful in troubleshooting is if you open up your file explorer again, and this time if we go to C/logs, in here you're going to have a directory for DataForge, and then you'll actually be able to see all of the agent logs that are getting printed from the UI, but you'll be able to access it directly from the machine. And then in addition, as this agent is running day over day, you'll be able to see previous days logs listed in here as well. And the current file that's just named agent is always going to be the active file that the agent is printing logs to. So hopefully this helps. That's how easy the agent installation can be. Thanks.